time, the present value of the needs for facilities was $59 million. The present value up to and above $111 million. So it wasn't like this was going to be inexpensive. It was going to be a pricey endeavor. And so as the development occurs and it continues to occur, that's where you're going to be spending the money. A district like Buckeye has met a lot of their needs in that Exhibit B because the development happened there earlier. As you can see, the development's coming our way and has been there for about the last 10 years. And there is definitely a place and a need for a school site in that Serrano Parkway, Bass Lake Road area. Just to confirm, this is what is provided to each homeowner upon purchasing a home in the Community Facilities District. They receive this and they do sign off on this in acknowledging that there is a CFD tax, a special tax that's related to that for schools. There's also a CFD tax that's related to public works projects as well. There's the Community Facilities District and there's one for schools. So this is what they receive upon purchasing a piece of property. The tax rate upon which their home is determined is based on the year that they purchased their home, or when the home is built, I should say. Not when they purchased, when the home is built. So the tax is set when the home is built, and it stays that way regardless if there's a change in ownership. So a home that was built in 2004, the tax is established based on the tax rate in 2004, and the tax rate does have a built-in increase of up to 3%. So that's why you'll see over here the residential square footage changes over time. So a home built this year, or in 2014-15, has a 0.4675 per square foot tax rate. And they'll have that tax rate, and it'll be established, and it'll be that way forever. It will not change. As the home value goes up, and hopefully because of the amenities that a CFD provides, they'll maintain their values or go up more than what a home that's not in a CFD may. That's the intent, but that's what you hope for. But the percentage of the value of the home will go down as the home value goes up. So to look at a typical home, I pulled up a tax statement for a homeowner. And this is an APN. Doesn't really, it's not in our district, but it's in the CFD. And you can see this is their tax bill for 2014-15. And right here is the El Dorado Schools Financing Authority Community Facilities District number 1. The tax is, I can't read it, it's too small. 1138.78 looks like. So that's in 14-15, and you can see that if you go back and scroll, and the ownership actually did change on this home, so it was easy to confirm that the tax didn't change. 1138, there it is again. That's in 13-14. And in 13-14, again, it's 1138. The tax does not change, regardless of the owner, and it stays with that property based on when that property was built, the home was built. So with that, we know that development started happening in 2003 or 4 in rescuing the school district part of the CFD. So let's look at what the tax revenues have been generated for the district. So you can see back in 95, 96, we took in a whopping $85, 443. There wasn't a lot of money coming in at that time. Most of this has been audited at the high school district as the agent of the CFD. Beginning in the mid-2000s, you start to see a little bit of growth, and then 2004, 2005 is when the real development starts to hit. And from there, we're now projected to take in about $630,000 per year right now. And there is growth happening up in the CFD, in a few of the areas. So we know that that's gonna continue to grow. To what extent and how quickly that happens, you know, no one really knows that, but there is some growth happening. Total tax revenues so far are $5.39 million. That's what we've received for the CFD #1 for Rescue New School District at this point as of June 30th, 2015. So, where have we expended the money, the dollars, the taxes? We had very few expenses prior to 2009. Most of the expenditures that were made in the CFD were of an administrative type of fee for our accounting that was handled by the high school district. And those were all accounted for through the high school district. The first expenditures that were handled or basically went through Rescue Union School District where we actually expended dollars, CFD dollars, began in 2009. So I'm going to start there. In 2009, the district sold COPs, refunded COPs. The 2009-10 and 2010 COP refunding of $8 million. $3 million of that was deposited into Fund 35 for the acquisition of Bass Lake, the site acquisition of Bass Lake property. At that time, we were in negotiations for Village J Lot H, and those funds were to be used to make that purchase. Those funds are still in Fund 35. They have been expended down some, but they remain there. So, by June 30th, 2010, we did spend some money that year, $62,000 in Fund 35 in preparation to purchase the Bass Lake property. We had $2.8 million, I believe, there with the high school district in their possession, and $2.9 million was remaining in Fund 35. These have all been audited and reviewed by our auditors and auditors at the high school district who handled those funds. So in 2010-11, things started ramping up at the high school at the purchase of the Bass Lake property. Plans were designed. A lot of work was done with the CDE to get site selection. There was a lot of movement going on. 137. I can't see. Sorry, folks. I'm a little bit. $137,000 approximately was spent on Bass Lake site acquisition in that year, and that had to do with legal, consulting, testing, design, etc. At the end of the year, we had approximately $2.8 million there. In Fund 49 was the first payment on the COPs for 2010. It was an interest payment of $323,000 that was attributable to CFD. 2011-12, things slowed down on the Bass Lake property purchase in Fund 35. We spent $21,000 that year on consultants and mostly consultants that year, probably, and some legal. In Fund 49, the cost for the payments on rental payments and interest was $521,000 that year. And you can see at the end of the year, assets were in Fund 35, $2.7 million. Fund 49 had a fund balance of $12,691, and cash with the El Dorado Union High School District reached $3.178 million. In 12-13, again, not a lot of activity at the Bass Lake. Purchase of the property there. Fund 35 balance of $2.7 million. Again, interest payments made on interest and rental payments made on the COPs 2010. $519,000 of total expenditures. You can see Fund 49 had a balance of $10,788, and cash with the fiscal agent, the high school district, was $3.28 million. 13-14, we started working on the Bass Lake, the EID property that was available, made available to us, and we started actually doing some work as far as reviewing and getting consultants involved in that process. So $16,000 was spent there. And again, rental and interest payments on the COPs in 2013-14, $522,000. Total expenditures $524 in Fund 49. CFD assets in Fund 35 of $2.75 million. Fund 49, CFD, $8,800, I believe. And cash with fiscal agent was $3.3 million for the high school district. Again. And then last year in 14-15, we did finally make the purchase for the EID property for $300,000, plus some change there. And then the cost for our consultants and legal was up in the $80,000 range. Total cost was about $390,000 on the Bass Lake process. We also transferred in some money. We were planning on making some payments with regard to the energy project, and we did make transfers in from the high school district. We determined that we were going to charge those to a different fund. Those and a few other projects that were initially planned for Fund 49, we did charge those to other funds at the time, so that were available and legal to use. So the expenditures, we did not make a payment on the principal and interest, the rental payments from the CFD in 2014-15, and we have not made one in 2015-16. So the fund balances are $2.367 million in Fund 35, $1.765 million in Fund 49, and $2.2 million in Fund 49. I'm sorry, with the cash with fiscal agent. Total of $6.38 million in cash assets right now in Fund 39. I mean, in the CFD. Those are audited, reviewed by our auditors and auditors through the high school district as well. Financial activity reports are available just to back up all those expenditures. That's the next item there. I'm not going to open those up. Project updates. So just the things.
I have a quick question. It's probably a statement of the obvious, but I just kind of want to clarify it. So the reason that we took out the COPs in 2010 of $3 million was anticipation, because we were at a point where we realized that we needed to acquire and potentially start building a school site. That's why we took out the $3 million in COPs. Or am I confused?
The intent of that was to, one, refund and pay down the remaining amounts that were for the 2001 COPs. There was remaining $5 million remaining there.
Okay.
So that money was paid off, those were, and now we're financing that and continuing to finance that as we had previously. And then the $3 million was taken out to make the purchase on the Bass Lake property.
Okay.
Yes.
And the 2001 ones were for the middle school initially, for that group.
Yes, I'm gonna go down
portion
to
of Pleasant Grove Middle School.
Pleasant Grove Middle School.
It was about $14 million at the time, the cost, but 16 projected. State gives you half, so I'll have to take that. That was the original, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna get to that one.
Okay,
Get to the
perfect.
But
2001
that
COPs in
connection
a
will
little
make
bit.
it, yeah.
Excellent, thank you.
So the project history, most of our spending, these are the, again, goes back to the Exhibit B. This is just a review of that. This is a review of the revenues that we've taken in. That's the El Dorado Hill specific plan. This is the Bass Lake site acquisition, which has been our major focus of what we've spent money on. And And so you can see that in 2009-10, this is just a review of everything I just told you. 62,000, 137,000, 21,000. Eventually, we did make the purchase on the Bass Lake property from EID. It's a review again of all that data. A snapshot of the property. Total costs. $632,000 we spent so far on Bass Lake property. Between the Village J Lot H and the EID property. And then, this isn't the slide I want to use for the next information. With regard to the COPs, in 2001, the district sold $16.6 million in COPs to help fund and finance the construction of Pleasant Grove Element of Middle School, I should say. And of that, they used $13.6 million to fund Pleasant Grove, which left $3 million remaining. And the district in 2004, 2005, I believe, used that additional $3 million to help fund the cost of Lakeview Elementary School.
I'm sorry, that remaining.
The remaining $3 million was used to finance the cost of Lakeview Elementary.
And at the same time, part of that came from, if I may, just the fact that the state had frozen funding. The state allocation board was not even, if you have an approved project, was not giving out any funding. So that left the district charged with paying for the entire bill and waiting for state reimbursement, which always takes some time.
So what we're saying there is that part of the funding for Pleasant Grove, from my analysis and everything I've read and looked at and seen in the district, is that Pleasant Grove Middle School was built with the intention of serving the Upper Serrano Bass Lake area community. In 2003, 2004, when Lakeview came online, there was an agreement made that the students who were coming into that area and the families that were buying homes in that area could select to go to Lakeview or Jackson, initially Jackson, then Lakeview, is my understanding, in lieu of going to Bass Lake, Bass Lake, but Green Valley, because Green Valley was impacted at the time, and Lakeview was a new school, and no one really knew exactly how many students were going to be going into that new school. It filled up rather quickly. It has maintained its enrollment, but that was the understanding in 2003, 2004. It also stated in all the board agendas and items that I have seen that once the Bass Lake School was built, that those students would return to their home school, which would be Bass Lake School. And if they did go to a middle school, depending on what kind of school is constructed at Bass Lake, if it was a K-5, then they would then, based on history, and I'm sure it isn't decided, but the history, they would then go to Pleasant Grove Middle School. So that was the intention. That's everything that I have read as far as the history behind that move to send those students to elementary school at Lakeview and then on to middle school at Union Village. So Pleasant Grove Middle School was built with the intent of serving that community, and Lakeview Elementary School does serve the students from that community. There's 177 students currently attending Lakeview Elementary School, and those students have been attending there for the last 11 years from that community. To look at the payment summary on the COPs. From the CFD is the left column here. You can see that of the $3 million that was set aside for the Bass Lake School, the payment on the principal has been $435,000. Has been paid down to that $3 million. It leaves $2.565, I believe, $1 million principal remaining to be paid. The interest attributable to that $3 million is 2.97. It paid off 1.304 in interest. There remains $1.6 million remaining in interest to be paid on that. With regard to the payment on COPs related to Pleasant Grove Middle School and Lakeview Elementary, it's not cooperating with me. $2.5 million of principal at Pleasant Grove, splitting the $5 million. We've checked with legal counsel. We're getting some confirmation on these numbers. I just want to say that we're going to get the right, but there's $5 million of debt of the COPs. Our legal has said that those are or can be charged to the CFD. It doesn't necessarily mean we want to do that or have to do that, but it is an allowable and legal expenditure. We have not spent a dollar on paying down of CFD dollars, CFD number $1, on paying down the debt at Pleasant Grove Middle School or at Lakeview Elementary School as of June 30, 2015. So, there's been a lot of questions about how we spend our money. I do want to say that I believe we are good stewards. We have done and tried to do the right thing. We are looking at the Exhibit B and saying, this is what we've been, not necessarily told to do, but this is what the agreement says that we're supposed to do, and we're trying to honor that agreement. And where we have spent the money is very clear, in my opinion. It's been at Bass Lake Elementary School, and it's been on debt related to that $3 million for Bass Lake. So we're saying that should a time arise where the students do return to Bass Lake Elementary School and should they attend Pleasant Grove, we did build Pleasant Grove with the intent that that those students attend that school. To make a decision in 2001, to me, this is the part that I know I have a disagreement with some people in the community, is that to make a decision in 2001 to build a school, which is a huge capital investment, and then to come back and say, oh, we don't, that's not something we agreed to, but that was something the district made a decision on prior to all the development happening with the plan and the intent that school would serve that community. It makes it difficult from a fiscal side to say, I have to make those payments. We as a district have to make those payments. We have to